All right, good evening, everyone. It is the January 16th. Hopefully, everyone is doing okay out there. Our road conditions are still pretty rough, pretty much around the whole area that received winter weather over the last few days. We do have another system to talk about as we get another brief little tiny break of the extreme Arctic air. Still going to be way below average, but it may crack freezing in a few parts of the area tomorrow. We'll go over that here in just a few minutes, but we need to talk about this next little system ahead of this another Arctic blast that's coming this weekend. So we're going to talk about this here in just a second, and then we're going to talk about possibly Sunday night into Monday next week as we go under or pretty much undergo a pattern change. And with the Arctic air, that heavy, dense Arctic air that's in place, models tend to try to shove it out of the way too fast, and it will linger a little bit longer than what models are projecting. That's the reason why we have a little bit of heightened alert for next week for some icing concerns across parts of the area. So as we get into Thursday morning, basically, we're going to start probably as a mix, maybe some freezing rain, maybe some sleet, maybe a few snowflakes out there, basically across the northeastern three quarters of Arkansas here and far southern Missouri. As you go into eastern Arkansas, over the river here into Memphis, northern Mississippi, into Tennessee, it's going to be a mix. It's going to be a mix, probably more of a freezing rain to maybe some sleet, maybe a couple snowflakes here and there. So there could be a glaze of ice possible, maybe a little bit higher amounts around Memphis, but this is just going to add to more road concerns as we go into Thursday. And then as we go to Thursday afternoon, Thursday night, the stuff starts spreading east. Cold front starting to be rapidly coming down the region. As of right now, I think the purple areas will actually be go from a mix to possibly snow, and there may be some more accumulations up this way. Show you a few models here in just a second. But up here in the blue, I think it's going to be more of a maybe a little mix at the beginning, but then it's going to transition to snow, especially with the second system coming down. So we're going to have a first little system come through Thursday into Friday morning. Then Thursday night, there's going to be another system, basically riding the Arctic front down and basically give us some snow up here towards Missouri and through parts of Kentucky, and then change this mix over to snow up here. So anything, anywhere in the blue, possibly, basically across central Missouri, through parts of Tennessee, Kentucky, all the way towards Appalachians, there could be some accumulating snow with this second system, or as you transition to snow. Now, with this mix to rain, possibly, if it changes to rain, I think the most likely portion that will change terrain here will be basically a Little Rock to Memphis south of there will change terrain. I think north of there is going to be a little bit more a question. I think it may stay in a mix for a little bit while or longer, and then that cold front's going to come through. So you may not transition to rain. There's just some questions there in regards to that. Okay, so let's take a look at the Weather Prediction Center, what they think at the moment regarding possible ice accumulations here when we get into Thursday. Alrighty, as we transition over to the WPC here, this is what their latest thinking is for the 24-hour period, basically from early Thursday morning through Thursday night, basically. So the darker blues here, that's basically a 40 to 50% chance of seeing at least a glaze of ice. Basically a 1/100th of an inch, basically a glaze of ice around here. So, and then as you transition back into the greens, gets down to a 20 to 40% chance, basically. And then yellow is 5 to 10, brown is 1 to 5, basically. So you see the higher confidence at the moment with the Weather Prediction Center here is eastern Arkansas, northeastern Arkansas through Memphis, northern parts of Mississippi, and just east of Memphis as well. So that little corridor there has the best chance of seeing a glaze of ice around there, or a little bit more. So it actually has a 1 to 5% chance of seeing a tenth of an inch or greater across the Memphis area and just east of there as well. So there's the bullseye basically for there. Then as you transition in through Friday morning, basically, you see how this goes east. This is all basically from Thursday morning through Thursday afternoon, and you get to Thursday night, really starts cranking up, possibly at least a glaze of ice, possible northeast of Atlanta, up here northeastern Georgia, possibly into the Carolina or North or Appalachians here, and most of Tennessee. So I'm going to show you snow accumulations too. So, but this is going to create, I mean, there's already a ton of travel concerns. Main roads are getting better if you have proper snow removal equipment and lots of salt to lay down. Arkansas RDOT has done a remarkable job getting the state roads basically almost all clear as the last time I checked here. But these other roads across the south are still pretty rough. And then secondary roads are going to stay pretty nasty, probably until it gets well above freezing. And that may be next week before that happens. So we're going to go in the deep Arctic plunge again after this little wave comes through. Like I said, we're going to have some snow back here in parts of Kansas, Missouri, and through Kentucky and parts of Tennessee. As this mix kind of changes over to snow. And then let's look at that really. All right, latest from Weather Prediction Center for grade 2 or equal to an inch here. You can see where this next system comes down through Friday. afternoon basically delivers some chances of an inch or more of snow. Basically, like I said, central northern Missouri through Iowa, parts of Nebraska, Illinois. And then really gets down here towards central Tennessee, eastern Tennessee, and then most of the eastern half of Kentucky has a really decent chance of seeing another inch or more of snow across this area, greater than, especially when you get in the light blues, it's a 70 to 80% chance of seeing at least an inch or more across that area. So that's just from the Weather Prediction Center. Let's go take a look at some models here real quick. Alrighty, this is right around noon on Thursday. That stuff in Arkansas could be brief, but there is some models basically trending with a little bit more coverage with precipitation. Now, as we get towards Memphis, northern Mississippi, could still be a mix, possibly some ice there to maybe sleet, maybe some snow in the northern parts of Tennessee, snow in Kentucky here. Then, as you transition into Friday night, snow really picks up across. Like I said, this is one model, but this snow really picks up across central to eastern Tennessee into Kentucky. Here comes the big cold coming down here. Freezing rain, sleet possible across far northern Alabama, in through northern Georgia, southern parts of Tennessee. And then here comes this next little system that comes through. So lots of snow back here to Tennessee, Kentucky, mostly Kentucky here, Missouri, through most of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. And that snow picks up as we get into right around 9, 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday, and continues after that. So this cold's going to be really diving into the area. And then as we get into next week, which I will go over briefly here, I'm going to go over in more detail the supporter hub tomorrow regarding next week's system and what's going to happen after that, because we're going to be talking about probably a January thaw temporarily. Okay, so we're going to have a pattern change next week. Could have some icing concerns, basically across Texas, Oklahoma, through Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, even up towards southern Michigan. So that corridor right there, as we get a trough start developing out east, ridging out, or I'm sorry, trough out west, ridging out east, southwest flow, and we're gonna have an Arctic boundary kind of draped along the Gulf Coast. That's going to turn into a warm front. We're gonna have this southwesterly flow, this warm, moist flow, trying to get up and over this very cold and dense Arctic air that's still going to be in place, and there could be trouble brewing. And with, like I said, models tend to try to push this stuff out of the way, this Arctic air out of the way too quickly. But it's just so cold and dense air, it's hard to move. So it will stick around longer than what models are projecting. Okay. So, what kind of snowfall totals are we talking about here? This is through Saturday. Let me see if I can dial down really closer here. So you see a general half an inch to an inch up here through parts of Missouri, Iowa, southern Iowa, maybe a half an inch to an inch across to Kansas. As you get into Kentucky and Tennessee here, there is some models throwing out 2 to 4 inches of snow here across this area. Weather Prediction Center has a lot less, but this is one model that I was going to show you here. Um, Indiana 2 to 4, Ohio 2 to 4 looks like, and then like I said, eastern half of Tennessee could get from an inch out towards the west, just basically just northwest of Nashville. Get east, it goes quickly to 2 to 4, and then as you get to the Appalachians here, it could be more than that. Let's go out east so you can see this. Could be a lot more than that in West Virginia and parts of the mountains here, the higher terrain, and then could be a little bit of snow back here into parts of Virginia, maybe an inch or two, and then some more snow up towards the northeast. Lots of lake effect snow. I kind of warned about this a couple weeks ago with this these warm lakes that are about 5 to 10 above normal. that's basically wiped out now, and tons of lake effects now. I'm sure you guys, if you're NFL fans, you saw that Buffalo game, how they had to reschedule it for Monday instead of Sunday because of all the heavy snow there. 2 to 3 feet they've gotten, and they're about to get crushed yet again in the Buffalo area here in the next few days as well, with probably more than 2 to 3 more feet of snow is possible across the area. Alrighty. All right, as we get into late Sunday, this is the 21st. You can see the cold air is starting to retreat, and the Canadian model is really bullish on freezing rain possibilities because it kind of senses that there's going to be more low level Arctic air in place. Okay. And there's going to be a trough out west that's uh, starting to develop. And then this warm Gulf of Mexico moisture plus the southwest flow is going to change this stationary Arctic front into a warm front and start pushing north here. This is Sunday night with lots of freezing rain possibilities across northern Texas here, right around the Red River, and then into parts of Oklahoma, and then really getting heavy, possibly into Arkansas, into Missouri here. Snow up here towards northern Illinois, sleet in the middle, and then freezing rain, like I said, through Missouri, Arkansas, and parts of Oklahoma. Right, as you see down in Texas, as it starts warming up, since we're getting into this pattern change, the cold air is starting to slowly move out. This will change over to rain. So this is going to be basically a snow, sleet, freezing rain to rain across basically from Illinois all the way to Texas here. As you go forward here, you can see the freezing rain really keeps going through Monday. That low level Arctic air is still sitting in place, changing to rain. It's all rain now in Texas, and then it's slowly starting to change to rain up here into the Ozarks and Missouri, into parts of uh, the Illinois as we go later into Monday to Tuesday. But lots of freezing rain could happen if this scenario came true. Now, since we have a trough out west, there's going to be a lot more southwesterly flow and more moisture coming into the area. There's going to be a lot of rain possibilities next week. And with the ground so cold, there's going to be excess runoff. Plus, we have all the snow still on the ground. So we're going to get some torrential rains possibly next week. I think we're going to be into a January thaw for the next until possibly the end of the month. And then once we get into February, we may get locked back in to the cold pattern. And I'm going to be more detail with all this in the supporter hub over the next few days. So if you're not a supporter with us, it's $4.99 a month. We go through all the long range with you, all the details, a lot more in depth over there. We can show you all the different models, what the ideas are, what our ideas are as well. Plus, you get first dibs on seasonal forecasts, and winter is not over, I promise. So this is going to be basically like a January thaw, and then we're going to get probably the teeth of winter getting back into the area as we get into February. But I will be in more specific and more detailed over the supporter hub on that. So here is what we are thinking at the moment for Thursday into Friday. So basically a mix, maybe changing to rain across the pink here. As we get into purple here, we're probably a mix to snow as we get to that next system in with that major Arctic air coming back into the region here, and then blue is going to be snow. Like I said, the blue and the purple here have a decent shot of seeing snow accumulations. We'll have a snow accumulation map probably out tomorrow night for you all. But in the pink here, I would expect at least a glaze of ice or maybe a little bit more, especially centered right around the Memphis area. Okay. And then here's a sneak peek at next week. Okay. So we have that stationary front or the stationary Arctic front turning into a warm front as we get a pattern change. This the southwesterly flow and this moist flow is going to come up and over this basically boundary here over this cold, shallow air, and could go from a mix to ice to rain as this warm front starts moving through the area here, or this boundary starts moving through the area. You can see by the arrows where this is going. So this will be a mix to ice to rain, and the mix is more likely up in Missouri into Illinois, into parts of Iowa, and then it transitions to ice. And then as we get warmer down here through the south, it'll start transitioning to rain as this boundary moves northeast and we undergo a pattern change until the end of the month. Like I said, we'll have more over in the supporter hub in the next few days regarding the long range, and the winter will probably come roaring back sooner rather than later. But the January thaw will kick in next week and then probably through the end of the month. Okay. So we'll leave you with this. We'll have an update tomorrow night regarding accumulations. But I think, like I said, at least in the pink here, we're going to at least get a glaze of ice possibilities around this area, which will make travel a little bit more difficult than what it already is, since we already have still some snow covered roads out there, some sleet and ice covered roads, and up here, like I said, up here in the purple and especially the blue, you have a chance at some snow accumulations coming in over the towards late week. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you all enjoyed this, and we will talk again tomorrow night. Stay safe out there as the storm train continues, and we'll continue into next week. But we're going to probably have to start talking about some flooding concerns as we go next week once we start getting into this January thaw.